On October 27th, 1908, Lee Krasner, an American abstract expressionist painter, was born. In an Inside New York's Art World interview, Lee talks about the impact of John Graham, in which, in 1942, he invited her to be part of an expedition of French and American painters where she was asked by another artist about John Pollock, who she didn't know at the time. She soon found out where he lived and decided to go to his studio, where she found out he was also part of the abstract expressionist movement. Soon marrying John Pollock in 1945, they both moved to a farm in East Hampton, which they both used as a studio. After he had died, she expanded her artworks into paintings like these, where she would use bold and extravagant colors to show her emotion, and states that I would make brushstrokes and some image would suggest itself to me. Her use of green exemplifies leaves and smoothly flows into her own colors, pink and orange, while having the painting have the aspect of the curves and giving her straight lines without making them edgy and sharp, but rather giving them character. She would explain as the colors as if they each had an emotion to them, and whichever emotion she was feeling that time, the artwork would show it, and it would suit her own needs to represent the image she was trying to convey. Women at the time were generally not invited to many art clubs or organizations. In the book Abstract Expressionism, Other Politics, the author writes, the dealer was visible, but the artist was not provided as female artists with the chance to pass as men. Lee changed the way women were viewed by showing how much time and dedication her paintings would have and show background to her paintings. For example, this painting by Lee, titled Gia, created in 1966, shows the dedication and the way Lee was moving to create this piece. Being a nearly 11-foot wide painting, she would have to move and use her whole body to create the piece. Also, the way the curvatures aligned to implicate that she was using both arm and extending her body to create the motion of the piece and exemplify nature by not the picture of actual nature, but rather she is nature and is showing that in reference of the piece. This painting, filled with world gestures and crowded streaks of black, shows deadly eyes and heads haunting the viewer as they collide between one another. According to Lee Krasner, a book written by Gail Levin, she states that Lee was preoccupied with trying to know herself in order to communicate with others. Painting is not separate from her life, it is one. Lee's piece is so dark and mysterious to let the viewers know how it felt in her time period of living with Pollock and painting by herself in the back, creating her own ideas and feeling alone after he had died, resembling the dark colors black to show how harsh they are reflected against the white. At the time of this painting, she was in a depressed state from the result of the death of her husband, which also gave this painting the illusion of the swirls to be hypnotized to distract her from the state of depression she was in. One of the pieces I find most curious from Lee is called Seated Nude. This work of art reflects one of the more famously known pieces by Pablo Picasso, titled The Same Thing. Shows a woman sitting down on a stool while one of her hands is over her torso and the other hand on her leg. The correlation between Krasner and Picasso is the rigid edges she uses to replicate his. She adds her own unique style and color by using charcoal on paper, giving it a really greasy and more question to the work by making you step back and examine the art. Along with that, using charcoal was a really hard technique to master and gave her a greater title in art to be able to create such a beautiful piece. Not to be cliche, but Lee Krasner was a very important woman to today's art and to the abstract expressionism movement by showing her skills in the works of art she created.